Hello, I'm Mark Tucker.
Hello, I'm Xavi.
Welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two voice apps.
Hey, Shavi, it's good to have you back here on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always, like we were saying, like every 6 months I have to be here.
It,
So
it
yeah,
seems
that's
like it,
great.
yeah. We're definitely happy to have you. Today, we're going to talk about an open source project that you're working on, something that has to do with Firebase GenKit and GitHub Models. So, why don't we, for those who are new to this, and this all has to do with generative AI, correct?
Yeah, that's true. That's totally true.
So go ahead and give us a little bit of kind of how what's Firebase GenKit, what's GitHub Models, and how does that fit with Gen AI?
Yeah, so basically Firebase GenKit is a framework that is being built because it's under development by the Firebase team. The name, like could be a little bit confusing, and that probably like people can think about like, okay, this is something about like generative AI plus, like interacting with Firebase and all that stuff. Like, yes and no. Like, you can use Firebase GenKit with Firebase services, but you can use Firebase GenKit just, like as an open source framework. And what's Firebase GenKit? Firebase GenKit basically is a framework, an open source framework built by the Firebase team to develop like generative AI applications, basically. Is similar to LangChain, or to Llama Index for those are like, like more familiar with those frameworks. But the main thing that has Firebase GenKit and is one of the, I think for me, is one of the things that I love the most is that it is built using like the keys principle, like keep everything super simple. So for instance, when you are developing like generative AI apps using LangChain, you have to learn that abstraction layer, like that LangChain uses, which, a little bit, it's a little bit complex because, like, for instance, when you're using OpenAI or Gemini or Anthropic APIs and SDKs, they are pretty much similar, but when you're using LangChain, you have to learn like a new language. Whereas if you use GenKit, the way that they are designed, the framework from the developer experience perspective is just way simpler. Whenever you wanna, like call an LLM to do, like for instance, like a simple task, there's a method for that. Whenever you wanna do like a retrieve augmented generation, there's, like methods that does that, and it's really cool. Like it's way simpler, which makes things easier for me. And it is based on like it is using like a modular pattern. So basically, you can create plugins. They are like plugins that are built by the Firebase team. Um, and there are like different types of plugins. There are like models plugins. So basically, whenever you wanna use like Gemini, there's a plugin that you need to install, and then you will interact with Gemini, or you will be able to call Gemini. There's another plugin to call or to play with Olama in case that you are using Olama. There are like community plugins to interact with OpenAI, with GitHub Models, which is the one that I developed. There are plugins for retrievers and for basically retrieval augmented generation to interact with different databases like Quadrant, like Firebase, Firestore, and like, and there are also uh, evaluators plugin, so you can use them basically to evaluate the outputs of the LLMs, which is it is actually pretty cool. And since it is part of, like the Google ecosystem, like, like talking about like LangChain again, LangChain is available in officially in JavaScript and Python. In this case, Firebase GenKit is available in Golang and JavaScript, TypeScript. So
Okay.
yeah, it's really cool. Like I will suggest to try that out. There's when you are using it, when you are developing it, it has a GenKit UI that you can interact with your applications basically, and yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty neat. I would say, like right to the point, you know.
That's good. Okay, so that's good. So people who are familiar with LangChain, at least you have kind of an idea of what GenKit can do. So I'm assuming it can do uh, simple prompts, queries. Can it do things like tools or function calling?
Yeah, yeah, and also multimodal. That's also available with Firebase GenKit.
Okay, and so then languages for Firebase GenKit is TypeScript slash JavaScript and Go, whereas LangChain is JavaScript and Python. Okay,
Python.
all
Yeah.
right. So talk to us a little bit about what GitHub Models are. I know that you're involved with Google. You're a developer expert. So how did you get involved with GitHub Models and kind of your association there?
Yeah, so basically, I'm a Google developer expert in AI, but I am also a Microsoft MVP in AI and also a GitHub Star. So I got like early access to GitHub models this summer, and I was playing with them. GitHub Models is kind of like a GitHub Hugging Face, I would say. Right now, it's only open for big corporations, like OpenAI, Anthropic, Claude, Microsoft. So if you go to github.com/marketplace/models, you can see basically the models that are available there. Those are large language models. And when you click, for instance, let's say OpenAI GPT-4o, um, you have like a short description of the model, and then here, well, you have the playground, so you can like literally test the model right here, and also the get started. It will tell you if you want to use the OpenAI SDK or the Azure AI Interface SDK. And the good thing of this is like you don't need like an Azure account, and like you don't need that type of like complex setup. You just need a GitHub account. So with your GitHub token and using the Azure REST AI interface, you can call this large language model, which is pretty cool and like pretty easy to set up. It's like the Google AI Studio that is not recommended for production purposes. It's more like like for prototyping, for testing, and all that stuff. At least in the state that it is right now. Um, but yeah, this is pretty cool. Like it is, it's like the Google AI Studio that you can access, or you can have like a small app, like up and running using or calling Gemini using the Google AI Studio SDK. So here is the same, but using the GitHub Models SDK, or well, the Azure AI Interface SDK, just creating a GitHub token. Like it's pretty neat.
Okay, so just kind of a recap on GitHub Models. It has maybe 30 models from kind of the bigger players in Gen AI. It
Yeah.
allows you to quickly get started and access and kind of come up to speed, trying different things with Gen AI models with just your GitHub account. Now, is it very difficult that once you kind of decide that you're going to release something to production, is it hard to move to more of a production model? And do, do you get to keep your same amount of code and everything, or is there a challenge there?
That's That's the point. So, for instance, if you are using LangChain or if you are using Firebase GenKit, it's just let's say that you are using Firebase GenKit. It's just instead of using one plugin, you just need to use another plugin let's say that you are using the GitHub Models Firebase GenKit plugin, the one that I developed. You just need to uninstall that one and install the OpenAI plugin or the Azure OpenAI plugin. But the other part of the application remains exactly the same because that's the modular way of Firebase GenKit. In LangChain is kind of similar.
Okay. So tell us about how you got the idea for this open source model that fits both Firebase GenKit and GitHub Models together. Kind of how you thought of the idea and maybe the approach that you took, and I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
also some challenges that you faced or what you learned, something
yeah,
like that.
absolutely. So I knew that the GitHub models was like really new, and like in this like the upcoming months, like we are gonna have more and more models being deployed to GitHub models. I was like testing and and touching for the first time Firebase GenKit. So it was like, okay, like Gemini, Gemma, those are awesome models, but what happened like if I want to use the GitHub models? So let's contribute to the community, because the community for me, as you know, I am like a big pusher for the community. I love the community, so I said, let's build something for the community. There was a community plugin for OpenAI. There was another community plugin for Azure OpenAI when you deploy OpenAI models to your Azure instances,
Hmm.
but there was not any plugin for GitHub models. So I said, let's do it. And there's a company called the Fire company, which is a company that basically they build a lot of GenKit plugins. So I took one of them, I think was the Anthropic one, as an example, and I started developing this one. Um, the repo is called GenKit X dash GitHub. Um, and the way that you just need to like to use it is basically when you are configuring GenKit, you just need to configure the GitHub plugin, which is basically with the GitHub token. And then once you have that, you can use the model, the OpenAI GPT-4o, for example. It's as easy as that, like exactly like two lines, like the importing and configuring, and that's it. So the main challenge was that the GitHub models itself, like the library, is really young, and the like GenKit is under development, GitHub models is under development. Both SDKs were under development, so to create the plugin was the big challenge. And also in the TypeScript world, like everything needs to be like properly defined, like the types, and all that stuff to match everything. Because, like Firebase GenKit has one interface and GitHub models, they have another interface. And you have to do, like those transformations and all that stuff to match everything. So that was the biggest challenge. But um, I make it work, which is really cool. And yeah, so for those that are not familiar with GenKit, basically when you create a GenKit application, the first thing that you have to do is uh, call the configure GenKit and configure the plugins that you want to use. In this case, we are going to use the one they created, okay, like the GenKit X dash GitHub. If you have like an environment variable, there's no need to put this line. And then the one of the main functions that GenKit has is the generate method. That basically it calls an LLM. It's as easy as this. Like if you put like GenKit code here and a LangChain code here, the amount of lines that the GenKit code has versus the LangChain code has is like 20%.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
it's way lower because it's, as I said in the beginning, it's based, like in the simplicity of writing code, like it's definitely really cool. And the main one of the main concept of GenKit is like the flow. Like you can call a flow. The flow could be a call to an LLM, or a call to your, like your vector database to, like perform some actions. So it's like a flow is basically like a function that you can call in another flows. So yeah, that's that's it. When you are developing a plugin, you have to specify like if the plugin accepts tool calling, if the plugin accepts multimodal. So yeah, this one accepts multimodal and accepts tool calling. So yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty cool. Like you guys need to try it out.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of open source, like you are, and giving back to the community. And so I'm just really excited that that you saw, here's two new technologies that are coming out, being developed, that they're useful, and that kind of the plugin for GenKit, specifically for the GitHub models, didn't exist, and you're like, well, there's a need, and I know what to do to fill that need, and that you decided to spend the time to give back to the community and keep people learning and moving forward. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I wish that if you haven't, I wish more people would get involved, I guess, in open source, and whether that be creating something on their own, or jumping onto a project like yours and helping out. Um, I think there's just big advantages. The things that you can learn by driving into somebody else's code is big. Plus the ability of just to be able to give back to the community.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Yeah, the community is super important because like when you get feedback from people like, oh man, like thank you for creating this, and like super useful, or you solve like a lot of issues that we had, like when you are hearing back from the community is super, like I'm feeling super fulfilled, and yeah, it's great. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it is really good, and I've been doing this for a while. You've been doing development for a while as well, and you just know that you're always going to be learning something new. There's going to be a new technology, a new framework, something that's going to come up that you're going to need to learn, and other people need to learn it too. And it's just nice to know that uh, that you're able to go to open source and find tools that are useful and things that you can just jump in. So somebody that's starting brand new might not have heard or of LangChain or Firebase GenKit, and they might be intimidated by one, but they have an option to try the other, and then just ability to get the faster you can get somebody started to experiment and to try new things, then that builds momentum and excitement, and it just helps people continue to learn and pick things up. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah,
Now,
the Firebase GenKit is like under like active development, but like it is it is highly recommended, so people should try it out.
yeah, no, I'm gonna take a look at it more deeply now that we've talked about it. I've done a little bit of looking at LangChain, and just didn't really realize like how similar or different it seems like that they are pretty similar as far as what they want to accomplish, but just the approach is different, and maybe that will click with
Yeah,
me, easier than Lane Chain did. So
exactly. The learning curve is way lower, way
yeah.
lower.
Now I know that you're doing a lot of things at your work at VoiceFlow, um, that with lots of different language models. Now, is this something that can be used with VoiceFlow at all, or is this something that's adjacent or separate from what you do at work?
So, well, I mean, this is like completely separated to my job. I always say that I have two jobs, which is my job and then the community. But yeah, like you can definitely use Firebase GenKit within VoiceFlow. You can have like a VoiceFlow function that calls a Firebase GenKit app to do like really complex GenAI processing without any issue for sure.
Well, very, very cool. I appreciate you spending some time today talking to us about this open source project. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, I'm gonna be like giving some talks about GenKit. So yeah, if anyone wants to follow me at Shavidop on Twitter, yeah, stay tuned because they're I'm gonna create like some code labs and then some content around GenKit.
Okay, no, great. I'll be looking forward to following you more and seeing when that new content comes out, so I can continue to learn. Um, you're few steps ahead of where I'm at on this particular topic, so it's great to know that I can learn from somebody that I know understands the content and does a quality job when they produce content. So
Yeah, for
Shavi,
sure.
thank you very much for being on our show again. And every time that we talk, we learn something new. And so just really great. And just encourage anybody that's watching this to follow Shavi and to take a look at what he's doing content wise, and give feedback on the open source community. And maybe we'll talk about this or other topics. Maybe again in 6 months we'll have Shavi back on Two Voice Devs.
Yeah, yeah, I will be here. Whenever you call me, I will be here.
Thank you. You're very, always are so gracious with your time and sharing what you've learned. So thank you very much, Shavi.